Well, here we are today, guys. I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Mr. Lindley Keating. Lindley, how are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you?
I'm super ecstatic about being able to interview you and ask you a few questions about your history in the sport of arm wrestling.
You ready for Santa Claus?
You don't want to know the answer to that question. I am not. I'm hopefully soon enough here, but that's good. I have a great wife for that. So so anyhow, I guess Lindley, we'll start firing away. I have some questions for you.
Yeah.
So let's see. First off, tell me where are you from? Where were you born, Lindley?
Born in Houston, Texas, back in 1964, and moved to Conroe just a few years after that. So I basically lived right here in Conroe, Texas, my whole life.
In Conroe, okay. And tell me about your dad and your folks. What did they do? Are they?
My dad was a lineman for the telephone company, and he had an accident when I was 3, and a pole fell on him in the road, and he laid up in the nursing home for about 4 years, and he traumatic brain problems, and he died when I was 7.
Wow. How did you get into arm wrestling?
How did I get into arm wrestling?
Uh-huh.
Was that the question? When I got out of the service, out of the Army, back in late 1986, while I was looking for a job in the paper, I stumbled across an advertisement for a sanctioned tournament, arm wrestling tournament. And I thought, oh, wow, how about that? Because, I've always been fairly strong and, loved the arm wrestle, but never, for the real, the real deal type of thing. And so I went and took third as an amateur, and figured out there's a whole new world about dealing with arm wrestling. And
right.
So I got hooked and never looked back. It's been a fun ride.
I'm curious. Do you remember any of the pullers that were at that event?
Yeah. I think on the pro side there was Gary Ray, Larry Daniels, and my coach that coached me when I turned pro, Jim Tambourine, and those are the few names that I took notice of and understood there was a world of difference between an amateur and a professional, because I thought I was strong, and it's always an eye opener when you really think you know what you're doing, and then you understand real quick that you're really not as strong as you thought you were. It's an eye-opening experience to find out that, and to this day, I love to see the expression on guys' faces, when they lock up with a true seasoned professional, and that epiphany that they find out.
I've been.
Because it happened to me just like it's happened to all of us.
I'm looking. I happen to be looking in the background there, Lindley, and I can see. Yeah. I can see a lot of trophies and plaques and things that you've accumulated. There's. You have to ask, what's your favorite one? What's your proudest moment? Awards. What's your and
then on this wall there's a few. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
yeah.
um, I guess I don't have a, I guess I don't have a favorite as far as a memento or uh, an object. I guess my memories are are traveling the country, all over the United States, and locking up with different guys, getting to pull high level guys across the country, and just to see where I, stacked up. Back in the day, I used to be pretty good, and I could stack up pretty good with the best of them, and to me, it was more about the competition than the trophies or anything. And so, I cherish just locking up with some well-known names. I've pulled David Randall, Paul Hutchins, uh, Marcy Barbosa, Brzezinski, Tim Bresnan, Nick Zena, uh, Ron Bath,
Bunch.
Richard Lucas.
So
You name them, I've probably pulled them a time or two, and it's those guys and it's those memories that I have. I may not beat the best, but I can say I've pulled them.
what's the farthest you've ever had to go?
I pulled in Vegas about 4 times, but we flew there. I hopped in the car one year. It might have been '05 for the Unified Nationals in California, Bakersfield, and hopped in the car and took off. 35 hours later, got there, practically competed, and practically drove straight back. I mean, it was. I'll never do it again, but I did it. And then before that, the first Harley pull that they had, so it was 2000, the 2000 Harley pull in Montpelier, Ohio. I drove down there. That was a 22-hour ride, and that day, I pulled Cataract, Harold Owens, uh, and Dave Randall. That tells you the kind of level tournament that I'd travel the country and who would be there.
Absolute top level class, right?
Oh yeah.
Speaking of top, I know we briefly spoke previously about your time with the over the top tournament. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Are you referring to Rick Zumwalt, who,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, yeah, in 1992, Rick Zumwalt, he showed up at the Texas State Championship in Brenham at the Washington County Fairgrounds, and of course he's the star. He's the guy that played Bull Hurley, the big guy, the big bald-headed guy that Sylvester Stallone went against in Over the Top, and me and Terry Corcoran. Let's see. Terry beat him in the preliminary, the first round, and then in the second round, I got him, and me and Terry put him out, put Rick Zumwalt out. He didn't want a match, and then it boiled down between me and Terry, and then I beat Terry out of the state title that year.
Awesome. Yes, let's see. Moving on, just because we have a few more to get to, I'd like to hit. We have who's your favorite sports hero?
Are you talking about arm wrestling or anything?
Any, you name it.
You know, uh, to be honest, I guess I don't have a sports hero. Now I like. There's a few that I like. But I guess uh, I like old Tim Tebow. He's a cool, authentic guy. Guys like that I care for.
And how about arm wrestling?
In arm wrestling, I tell you, John Brzezink's a class act, and Devin Larrett, he's a class act. There's a few of them they're just class acts. They're not crybabies. They they conduct themselves classy, and they represent the sport in a way that it's at a high level all the way around, and that's what I hope to try to do. The years I tried to emulate that myself, and that way one of these days when I'm not pulling anymore, and people say, yeah, I remember Lindley Keating. He was a heck of an arm wrestler, but not only that, he was a class act. That's what I hope people say about me, because there's a few guys that I'd like to emulate, and John Brzezink's a class act, or Devin Larrett's a class act. David Randall's another guy. Jerry Cataract, he's a class act. Harold Owens, there's some legit class acts in the sport, and I hope the younger guys take note and follow that lead.
I love it.
Because there's a lot of, what do you call it, yin yang, back and forth, guys talking a lot of talk, and gearing up for tournaments, and I don't go that route. I never have went that route. I never have shot my mouth off. I just, whatever happens at the table stays at the table, and we won't find out till we're at the table. And so that's the way I've always did it. I never did go the other route. It's just not classy.
I got you. I do appreciate that for sure. All right. Injuries, setbacks. What setbacks have you had in the sport? What injuries have you had? And tell us,
Yeah.
what did that do to you down or to stop you, or how'd you get past it?
Well, I've had in both of my wrists, my right and left wrist, I have what you call a non-union, and the the band or the ligaments that connect your carpal bones together. I've split that in half from just uh, uh, so much pressure on the table. Uh, I've split. A lot of guys have surgery uh, to correct a non-union, but I've never. I just went with it, and I thought, and both times I thought it would end my arm wrestling career, but it each time it took about a year before I could allow any pressure, and and uh, and felt like an ice pick driving through my wrist until it finally, after about a year, I could deal with it and started pulling again. And what's funny now is, because of that non-union, when I go to grip up with somebody and get tight, the tendons going through my fingers, going through my wrist, will shove them carpal bones around, and you'll hear a lot of clicking and clanging and popping. And it may take me a little bit of gripping up to get everything situated in my wrist to handle the takeoff, to handle the go. And so I've dealt with that. Also, in my right arm, on it might be on my ulnar bone. It's the inside tendon that's connected to the funny bone right there.
Okay.
I tore that, not completely off, but I tore that from the bone a little bit, and I was pulling Lee Browning. I think it was in 1999 at Delta Downs in Louisiana, and it was actually the first match of the day. I was pulling him, and we had a war, but I got him. But when I pinned him, I felt it tear on that funny bone just a little bit, and man, it burned. And I'm thinking, oh man, that was my first match of the day. And what's funny is I went ahead and pulled through it, and I actually wound up winning the tournament, and I had to beat Lee again with that torn tendon, and but and so I laid off that arm for about 4 months, and I thought it was just healed up enough to pull at nationals, and I went to nationals. First match of the day, I was going against Bobby Hopkins Jr. First match, boom, I went into a hook, and I felt it tear again. And so it was trying to heal up until I ripped the same thing again. And so then, believe it or not, I took second that day. I went ahead and pulled with it, hurt like that, and it stayed together, thank God. And I think I took second that day. And then it wasn't 5 months later, I was pulling at another high-level tournament, and it tore again, the same spot. It's like it would try to heal where it ripped from the bone, or almost by the bone, I'm guessing. I don't know. I never went to the hospital, but I know I ripped it 3 times. That third time was against Harold Owens. And so, and what's funny, to this day, I can feel the connection on there, and I don't think it ever reattached. That after that third time, I think it was enough to where it never did reattach, and so between my both of my wrist and my right elbow, I'm lucky to still be in the game, to be honest with you. But that's about it as far as my injuries. And I've seen a lot of arm breaks, and pec tears and bicep tears, but luckily, I've out of 33 years of competing, I'm able to just say I just have those 3 injuries, and actually, it's healed up enough without any doctor's care, enough to where I'm still in the game. Maybe not near the level I used to be, but just still piddling.
Oh, speaking of fiddling, and I know you don't like to warm up tournament, but your
Right.
preparation, leading up to the tournaments, what kind of training, what kind of diet, what do you recommend? Or what do you do?
Dustin, I'm the last of a dying breed, man. I'm probably the last of the cold pullers you'll ever see. I've never warmed up for anything. I literally would be sitting down, and then when they call me to the table, get up and go pull, and then sit back down. I don't do any warming up. I don't. I just never have. And everybody's got their own thinking about it, but that's just who I am. I know it's against the grain from common logic, but it works for me. It's to me, I'm tighter. If I'm tighter, I feel stronger. You see, and so if I'm at a high level tournament, I don't want to be loose and and limber and all that. I'd rather be cold and tight. That way, when I grip up, I'm tight, and just it's little things like that that's probably helped me with some pretty serious matches and pull it out.
Hmm. What when you're getting, when you're going up to the table, what fires you up? Do you have to get to a level where you get that adrenaline spike in you?
I used to, when I was traveling the country, uh, when I was ranked fifth, in the supers, uh, at one time, you know, I would be really, really fired up, and especially if I traveled a long way to get a shot at pulling a particular ranked guy and that sort of thing. But those days are past, and and these days, I just feel blessed to still be piddling around and doing a little bit, Dustin. Uh, I get more out of it now watching Tucker. My son. He's stepping into his own, and he's starting to fill my shoes. And it's a pleasure watching Tucker and watching him getting better and seasoned and left-handed. I can still put it on him left-handed, but right-handed that it's 50-50. That boy, he's getting strong. And so that's the fun I'm getting out of it these days is watching Tucker start soaring.
So you led me right into the next. I was just going to ask you about how it makes you feel when you watch your son Tucker arm wrestle.
Oh yeah.
Must be proud. I know that last match that Sahatchee was a great match, and he victorious there. Let's see.
Yeah, when he pulled Gabe Moore and Waxahachie, to be honest, I didn't know how that was going to go. Gabe is by far not a slouch. I don't even, I don't know if I could beat Gabe. And I've never, and that's what a lot of people need to learn. Don't pop off saying you can beat somebody if you've never pulled them, because you might look silly, And so I pulled Gabe in the past, and he's all there. But I don't know if I can beat him these days. These days Gabe's feeling pretty tough, and I was telling Tucker, I said, son, you better be on your game because he no slouch, and he knows that, and Tucker has that explosive takeoff, and Gabe come over after the tournament. He said, man, it's just that takeoff of yours I can't handle. and so I'm glad I'm teaching my boy something right. I told him, I said, when you take off, you better dump the clutch on the green light and let her go.
Yes, sir. All right, let's see. Have you ever gotten any butterflies in the sport? I mean, do you?
Oh yeah, pulling John Brezink for the first time. Yeah, I bet that happens to everybody. You pull, the best guy on the planet that's been the best for 20 years or something like that. Everybody I'm sure has butterflies. But let me tell you a quick story about pulling John. He showed up at the Europa. It might have been 03, 04, somewhere around there, at the Europa tournament, in Dallas. And of course, I knew I was going to have to pull him. and and I thought, okay, I ain't gonna lay down. I don't lay down for anybody. I'm gonna try to pull this guy. And man, we hit into a hook, and I actually was hanging with him pretty tough, and we was hung up there for a little while. And this is the first time anybody was strong enough to do this to me. He literally, I guess, decided to give up trying to pin me in a hook. And he literally started leaning back. And he had enough back pressure and wrist power to literally peel me out of a hook and then out and over and pin me over the top.
Okay.
Now, when he done that, I thought I was going to strip several gears trying to hang on, trying to hang on to that. Because let me tell you, I couldn't drink a glass of tea without damn near dropping it and shit, my hands shaking for about 4 months. That's how tore down I was for him doing that. That's an example of some power that people just don't understand. I'm lucky I didn't pop several tendons
Yeah.
when he done that because I was stupid enough to try to stay with it and kept fighting, and I came so close to popping some tendons because I was so tore down. I literally, it took me a couple of months just to be able to drink a glass of tea without shaking like this.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
So that's the kind of tear downs that I've been when you hear people talk about, oh, I'm tore down. Well, when, tear down to me is 3-4 months. That's a tear down.
Yeah.
That's borderline injured. And
Yeah.
that's what he did to me. And so from then on, I learned every time, if if I had to pull John in the preliminaries, I would forfeit that match. I'd let him have that match, and then I'd work myself through the B side, and then I'd pull him for real, in the finals. Yeah, I
No.
wasn't gonna pull him for real in the preliminaries because, that I wouldn't have nothing after that match, and so you learn the hard way on how to play your cards for the
Sure.
future.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you had any sponsors over the years, or any people that you'd like to give props to or thanks to? Coaches.
Well, I tell you what, I never had really any sponsors, but my hat's off to Jim Tambourine. He's up there in the Dallas area, Mesquite, I think. He was my first coach, and I spent 2 years as an amateur, really not knowing much. And then he took me under his wing, and uh, about 9 months, lined me out, and then I flew the coop and it started soaring and ain't
Yeah.
looked back. you know.
Any regrets?
No. I spent some time. I used to pull with old Gary Ray. Gary Ray's a legend. He's he's a Texas legend. When I was an amateur, I'd watch him pull light heavies and supers, and sometimes win them both. He's been around forever, and he's a class act guy too. And way back in the day, um, I would drive all the way to his house, being old James Chansey, and and we would pull about once every 2 weeks over his house, and we'd get tore down. That's about all we could do is once every 2 weeks. But I learned a little bit pulling old Gary. You never learn it all. You pull a variety of different guys, and that's what I've learned traveling the country and pulling for over 30 years and pulling, a variety of good guys, seasoned professionals, and top-notch guys, you learn so much faster, and you learn so much, the different styles, the different pressure points, the different setups and stuff. And I guess that's how I got my OJT. I got out there and just started hitting these other states, hitting these better guys, and that's how I got good. Just traveling around to see who was better than me, who was stronger than me, and that's how I got good, and that's how I got better, and got a name for myself, and didn't do half bad.
No, you didn't. What kind of table do you use?
It's funny. I've got a 1980 something tournament table that Jim Tambourine, my old coach, built.
Wow.
And it has the straight pin pads, not, how nowadays they have them slanted. The pin pads are slanted, and the elbow pads are offset. On this table that I train on, the elbow pads are centered up straight across from each other, and the pin pads aren't canted or slanted. They're just, opposite, and everything's straight forward. But I've had that table, I guess 33 years, 30 something years, and I'll pass it on to Tucker here when I lay it down.
Yeah, awesome. Have you got, I guess, anything else that you'd like to add or throw in there, or any other comments or stories, or?
Let me see. Hey, babe, would you give me this picture over here, holding that weight? I'm going to show you something here. This is Melissa. Melissa, say hi.
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 Did you?
Let me see. You asked me earlier what I would do. Hey, take a rag and clean that off real quick. You asked me earlier how I used to gear up for tournaments,
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to show you a picture here. Tell me if you get a good shot of it. Let me see. Can you see that?
I can. Yes, I can. Looks
Okay.
like a heavy
Yeah.
dumbbell.
That's a one-hand dumbbell and it weighs 155.
155 pounder.
And I'm holding a dead negative hammer curl. I'm standing up, and I'm holding the rafter in my back cabin to keep me upright. And I'm holding. See, my wrist is straight. It's not. It's not bent over. And I used to do 3 sets of about 45 seconds of holding it just like that.
Oh.
And that's when. Thank you, babe. That's when. And also, give me that other picture, babe, over there. Yeah. And in this picture, you can see now that the other picture I showed you was for my outside pressure, right? My top row.
Yep.
This is the same weight, and I'm hooking it I'm going from the ground, sweeping it up and hitting my chest on the opposite side. I'm hooking it. That's how I would work that one-hand dumbbell, getting ready. I would do 3 sets of 10s with doing it like that, and then 3 sets of holding it in a negative hammer curl for 45 seconds. Once a week, and then pull also. And so that's that right there, those 2 simple basic exercises is really what got me so strong, and pulling the level of guys that I, that I pulled.
Sure. Who's next? Who would you like to pull next?
Man, you got me on the backside of my career, Dustin. Like I said, I'm just I'm just happy to still be piddling around, and I still got a little bit left in the tank left-handed. I can still make a decent little dent left-handed, but my right's not near as what it used to be. I'm not. I've had my days of hoping I could pull this guy and see if I could pull that guy. I've had those days, and I'd like to feel old Paul Passmore left-handed. He's a beast. He might go right through me, and who knows? I may shock a few people and hang him up. I would just like to see if I could just make it a match. If I'm in the ballpark. That'd be fine with me, just to know that, hey, I hung him up, left-handed. Right-handed, shoot, I can't hang with them better guys these days, right-handed. But I think I can pull with them left-handed. You guys see my belt on the wall over there?
I see that. Where's that from?
That's a belt from that's a regional belt. That belt there is a left-handed champion's belt. I took from Larry and Lexi. I had to go down there to New Orleans and beat him out of it. But that belt represents about 5 or 6 states.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and I got to defend that belt at the next Paul Letourneau's tournament.
Sure. The PAF.
Those are his belts, and I think in March coming up in Dallas or Fort Worth, I'm going to have to defend that, and so I'm looking to lose some weight. I'm looking to get down in that 240 range.
Wow.
But so I may have to wind up trying to defend my super heavy belt at 240 against it was supposed to be what's that big dude's name that trains with Michael Todd?
Corey West.
Yeah, me and Corey West were set up. He challenged me for it, but the COVID hit and everything was canceled. So that's who. But you know what? Left-handed, I think I might be all right.
Well, you won't be pulling Corey left for a while.
Oh yeah, is that the arm he hurt?
Yeah.
I'm not sure he did, Billy.
Yeah, it was his left.
It was left. Yeah.
Because he came back and pulled right and won that, even if that pulled bicep.
Yeah. Well, we'll pray for him.
Oh yeah. I think last I saw he was at home resting. Everything came out well.
Getting back to Texas real quick. I think that I can tell you with all honesty, talking about just Texas only, from 1997 to 2013 or 2012, from 1997 to 2012, I was the man here in Texas, the reigning champ, overall champ, right and left-handed. Wow. And I'm pretty sure that's the most anybody has done that. There's been a lot of champions come out of Texas, but I don't think any of them has reigned for that many years consecutively. So I hope that maybe that that 15-year run would be enough to hopefully remember me as a Texas Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Texas loves you, Lindley.
I hope so.
And you, sir, are a class act.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like
I want to say thank you to you guys and Mark Cano as well. You guys have my utmost respect, and I appreciate what you're doing with the sport. I know you're catching a lot of flack, and my thought is, you know what? You're promoting the sport. You're furthering the sport. You're getting a new interest in the sport here in Texas, and you know what? I admire that. I wish it was done back in my day, you know. And so you guys keep it up, man. You got my support. I'll try to make y'all's tournaments. If you want me to pull somebody coming in, you know, I'm getting old these days. I got to stay healthy. But like I say, I still got a little bit left in the tank left-handed. I think I can pull some of these guys, you know, that y'all want to bring in, and I'll let you know when I can't handle it no more. But I'm still having fun, you know.
Good.
So yeah, bring them on left-handed. Now right-handed, you hand them to Tucker, but left-handed, I'll try to handle them.
There we go.
Awesome, Lindley. Well,
Thank
you very much.
This is awesome.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
All right, we'll talk to you later, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.